the second largest killer of horses after colic, and that is laminitis. So if you've had horses for any length of time, you will probably have had a horse who's experienced a bout of laminitis. And you'll also know that it's not very much fun, is it? It's very difficult. I've been working with laminitis recovery lately because I had 4 horses in my herd have an acute laminitis attack. I know it can be really scary and it's super tough, but here's some tips to help you. Hi, my name is Chris Adderson. I'm the founder of forthehorse.com. It may have seemed like acute, but I think that underlying there were chronic symptoms that were missed or were taken into account, but there was 1 or 2 things that tipped these 4 horses over the edge into full-blown laminitis. It can be a chronic situation lurking in the background. And these 4 horses that I'm dealing with right now, each of them is different from one another, and they're affected in different ways. The way that we treat each horse in the rehabilitation then needs to be different. One of my horses who got the laminitis, and she would not go to drink water. And drinking out of a bucket was not possible because we were dealing with minus 30 degree temperatures, freezing ground, ice everywhere. And so dealing with this in the middle of winter with these extreme conditions was very hard. So I had to go out there 3 times a day and actually walk her to the water bin where she would drink. It got to the point where she would wait for me and move towards the bin, but I had to be there to take her to the bin. So this is what we're dealing with laminitis is extreme conditions where we have to, as caregivers, have extra attention to their needs. You're going to want to watch for a change in conditions, and these can be even the slightest, smallest of changes. Age. Maybe your horse crossed a threshold of age. Maybe they're that much a little bit older that something makes more of a difference to them than it would not have before. Maybe weight. Maybe your horse is carrying extra pounds. That can make a huge difference too. Change in diet. Of course, always look to the diet. Drought, rain, these different things happening within our environment, the changes that we are seeing, these will definitely affect your horse too. Mineral balancing and exercise as well. And last but not least is hoof trim, right? All of these 4 horses that I'm talking about had a less than par trim, and it had been happening for a long time. So there were several things that happened in their lives that caused them to tip over into full-blown laminitis. Now, let's go into some tips. Number 1 is to know your horse. The better you know your horse, the more you can respond quickly. And then when you're rehabilitating your horse, the better you will know signs and indications that will tell you what your next step is. Again, these 4 horses, each of them are different. So each of them has a different rehabilitation schedule. And you can watch for intermittent lamenesses. Like even if you're not even in full-blown laminitis, right now, if your horse trips or stumbles or you notice an intermittent lameness, take note. Maybe hoof problems like flaring. My trimmer at that time was always rasping off the flares so that it looked pretty, but underneath, internally, within the hoof capsule, there was dysfunction happening. About white line disease or thin soles. Watch for impending laminitis. And know your horse as well as that, but have a second caregiver who knows your horse intimately as well. Because you never know when you might be ill or you might be injured and you can't go out and care for your horse. All right, the next one is to make sure you have a trimmer who knows your horse, right? I can't tell you how important this is. Knowledgeable about laminitis. That would be really helpful. The third thing that you want to really watch out for too, and plan for and be prepared for, is to have a process of rehabilitation. It's excruciatingly painful, right? There's pain in the feet, and that causes the body to try to take weight off of the painful feet. This leads to further tension, throughout their body, and that contributes to further pain. So once this has become a pattern in your horse's body, it's very hard to interrupt that and then change it to get back to what's normal, because the pain cycle actually causes changes within the nervous system and the patterns of movement. So the movement now becomes dysfunctional. With this pain cycle, your horse now definitely will have dysfunctional movement. So a process for complete recovery needs to be systematically approached. So the feet, the muscles, the nervous system, and of course the movement. And if you're addressing those 4 things, then you will be able to rehabilitate your horse. Thanks so much for being here. If you would like more information, I have a list of resources that I can get to you. Just put as a note for me below resources, and I'll have them sent out to you. Okay, thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.